Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. We are taking a deep, introspective journey together. We're going to look really closely at that massive transition from casual dating to true long-term commitment. Honestly, it's one of the most complex transitions we ever navigate in our personal lives. So, let's dive right into the data and the insights from relationship psychologists and hold up a mirror to our own readiness.
Let me ask you something right out of the gate. Are you actually ready for a committed relationship? Or are you just lonely? Ouch, right? I know, it's a pretty heavy question, but it's absolutely the perfect hook for our self-reflection today. Because so often we rush headfirst into relationships just to fill a void, without ever actually stopping to ask if we have the emotional bandwidth to give to another person.
So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover, are you truly ready? Green flags and red flags, needs versus wants, your family and attachment, and finally, traits of a strong bond.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1. Are you truly ready? The 5 signs of preparedness. According to the folks at Psychology Today, there are 5 distinct signs of readiness you should be looking for. You've got the depth of your emotional connection, your baseline level of communication, the timing rhythm between the two of you, whether the effort you're putting in matches the commitment you actually want, and finally, your ability to handle real-world logistics. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that honest communication acts as the ultimate foundation for all of this. If you can't sit down and have a meaningful conversation about your goals, your values, and your expectations, well, you simply aren't ready to build a lasting structure.
Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world, specifically regarding that 5th sign, logistics. This is a real quote from a therapy client named Linda. She said, "I like Steve, but the timing sucks with my new job at this startup." See, Linda was leaving this comfortable, safe corporate job for a super demanding startup with crazy long hours. It was a massive external stressor. But because she communicated this honestly to Steve, he stepped up to support her. Those external pressures actually became a catalyst for their growth rather than destroying the relationship. They actually ended up engaged. The takeaway? Real-world logistics will always test your readiness.
Moving right along to Section 2, green flags and red flags. Basically, how to identify the warning signs. Drawing on some fantastic insights from the Utah State University Extension, there's a really stark contrast you need to look out for. A major, undeniable green flag is being happy single, meaning a partner simply adds to the happiness you already have. But a glaring red flag? Feeling lonely and desperately wanting a fix? If you're using a partner as a cure for your loneliness, you're going to end up depending way too much on them for your basic emotional stability. It's like being on an airplane. You have to ensure you're buckled in first before checking on the other passengers.
To really hammer that point home, I love this highly specific but totally accurate quote from the Utah State researchers. Happiness comes from skiing powder, not relationships. Tasteful humor aside, the underlying truth there is profound. True joy and fulfillment, whether you get that from skiing, knitting, reading, or your career, has to exist independently before you add a partner to the mix.
Another critical comparison here is whether you've truly moved on from past hurts or if you're doomed to repeat the exact same toxic relationship patterns. As the researchers note, relationships are not airports. You literally cannot just haul your heavy baggage from one flight directly onto the next. You have to take the time to unpack, to heal those wounds, and to figure out why you might be falling for the wrong type of person over and over again. Okay, Section 3, needs versus wants. Decoding your emotional core.
Somatic therapist Anna Mayer has this absolutely brilliant way of breaking this down. She describes a need to thrive as a core underlying requirement for your happiness. Let's use adventure as an example. A want, on the other hand, is just a highly specific, imagined scenario of how you think that need should get met, like wanting a partner with a remote job so you can travel the world together for months at a time. Here's the magic. If you recognize that your actual core need is just adventure and autonomy, you suddenly unlock all this relationship flexibility. Because guess what? Your partner might be perfectly happy staying home with the dog while you take that trip.
So how do you actually tell the difference between the two? Well, Meyer suggests anchoring this physically using somatic mindfulness. Try this. First, brainstorm a core need, like honesty. Then, brainstorm a silly want, like, I don't know, eating chocolate cake at every single meal. Finally, take that gray area relationship item you just aren't sure about. Now close your eyes and notice what it physically feels like in your body when you imagine getting or being denied the honesty, the chocolate cake, and that gray area item. The physical sensations you get in your chest or your stomach will very quickly tell you if you're dealing with a superficial chocolate cake want or a deep, non-negotiable core need.
All right, Section 4, your family and attachment, the foundation of connection.
Look, we just can't assess our current relationship readiness without examining how our past directly informs our present. Psychologists categorize adult attachment into 4 main styles, which are derived directly from our early life experiences. We've got secure, anxious preoccupied, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant. Your specific style dictates how you handle intimacy, how you react when relationship stress hits, and ultimately your baseline emotional readiness. If you trend toward avoidant or anxious, you might just require a bit more conscious effort and self-reflection to reach a solid state of readiness compared to someone who has a secure baseline.
Man, the hard data really backs this up. The Relate Institute, which is a major relationship research body, found that a positive family background directly links to higher levels of emotional readiness. And specifically, it links to higher levels of kindness and flexibility in adult relationships. Our early family dynamics profoundly influence our capacity to be adaptable, calm partners when the inevitable conflicts arise.
Which brings us to Section 5, traits of a strong bond, the metrics for relationship success.
So when you actually take the Relate assessment, it evaluates several key traits. It looks at your kindness and flexibility, your emotional readiness, relationship effort, conflict resolution, and of course, effective communication. Because readiness isn't just about perfect timing or, being totally debt-free. It's about actively cultivating your ability to go with the flow, to manage your own anxiety, and to put in the daily effort to be considerate to the person you're with.
Now here is where it gets really interesting. When we look at how all this builds a successful bond, the Relate Institute breaks relationship outcomes into these distinct satisfaction zones. If you and your partner score high in traits like kindness and flexibility, you place squarely in the blue zone, where over 90% of people report being highly satisfied. But if you lack those traits, you drop down into the orange or red zones, where dissatisfaction and unresolved issues pretty much just become the norm. Ultimately, all of these traits feed into 2 critical but completely distinct buckets: relationship satisfaction and relationship stability. Satisfaction is all about your current level of intimacy and fulfillment. Stability, on the other hand, is your bedrock belief that the relationship is actually going to last over the long term. And while they are definitely different metrics, researchers note that they hold hands. You generally need really high satisfaction to guarantee long-term stability.
All right, which brings us to our final thought for today. I want you to honestly ask yourself, does the efforts you put in match the commitment you desire? It's so easy to want that blue zone relationship, but are you actually doing the internal work? The unpacking of your baggage, the somatic sorting of your needs versus your wants. Are you doing what it takes to actually earn it? I really want you to walk away today reflecting on that, because true readiness isn't just a status you achieve, it's a constant daily practice. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you all next time.